I'm very happy to be joined today by AEW superstar Evil Uno. Evil Uno, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on. Okay, so the first question I have for you is how does a guy from Gatineau find himself in the world of professional wrestling with AEW?
Honestly, it was a very, very long journey. There aren't a lot of us from Gatineau or Ottawa who, one, are pro wrestlers. There's only a select few of us that make it to become pro wrestlers, and then there are even fewer who make it to national television. I spent a lot of my early years, about 15 years, on the Canadian independent scene, and mingling with a lot of wrestlers, and that's kind of how you grow to get your name known out there. And eventually, I met the Young Bucks, who are the current EVPs of All Elite Wrestling. And when they started the company in early 2019, we were among the first people they contacted because we had known them from the years and years of wrestling that we had already put in at that time. So I've been extremely lucky and very fortunate to have found a way onto national television and with All Elite Wrestling.
Excellent. And not to mention very talented, but you can say that, so I'll say it for you. Um, what have your experiences with AEW been so far? Because obviously you've been there for a while. I mean, you're definitely recognizable. What's your personal experience has been with the company?
I've found it incredible. It's giving me it's always been a dream to be a professional wrestler, and I achieved it fairly young. But to live of professional wrestling is a very difficult dream, and AEW permits me to do that. Gives us so much freedom, and honestly, it's been a great company to work for. The people I've met through it have been fantastic. Tony Khan, our boss, has been a great human being to us and the entire roster, really. And so I'm very fortunate to have found AEW. I cannot imagine myself being anywhere else.
Excellent. Love to hear that. Love to hear that. Now, for those who don't know this, this is actually going to be AEW's first time coming to Ottawa, March 16th at the Canadian Tire Center for Collision. What can fans expect to see on March the 16th?
Well, All Elite Wrestling offers the cutting edge in professional wrestling. You'll get the best pro wrestlers from Mexico in the lucha libre style. You get the best professional wrestlers from Japan. You'll get the best professional wrestlers from America and North America, including Canadians like myself, Christian Cage, Adam Copeland, Chris Jericho. So it provides the cutting edge and the future of what professional wrestling is. But it also has some very recognizable faces from the years of professional wrestling. Dustin Rhodes, I've already mentioned Chris Jericho, Sting, who unfortunately will have retired by then. His big pay-per-view match is coming up now. But you can find some of the very best professional wrestling, and you'll see it on March 16th.
No, absolutely. And I've always said to people, I've been a fan of wrestling my whole life, but I've always said to people, you have to see it live. There's just such a different dynamic when you're in the audience. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree. I mean, I think it's like any sport or any theater or any art. If you are there in person, you get to kind of feel the aura and the energy of the entire crowd, and you kind of get to be a part of the show because as loud as you are, it does reflect to the people who are in the ring, to the pro wrestlers, and as because it is televised as well, it really does reflect in the TV show.
No, absolutely. Now, who would you say were some of your influences in terms of this business?
When I started professional wrestling in 2004, a lot of what my influences were was who I liked as a teenager, as a kid. I was big into Dustin Rhodes, which is incredible that like I work with him. I was a huge fan of Goldust at the time. Kane, Mankind. I think everyone at the time liked Stone Cold. But I also at the time would also watch ECW here in on Fridays in Canada, and so I was like a fan of Tajiri and the Rey Mysterios and Eddie Guerrero's and all of the sorts. So it's nowadays I'd say my influences and who I like has really changed, but that's who I started emulating when I first started wrestling.
Okay. And one of the things that I really appreciate about you is the fact that you haven't forgotten where you come from in the sense that when I look at your artist formerly known as Twitter, but your X account, you do a lot of terms of promotion for like some of like the C4, like the local Ottawa wrestling scene. Tell me about why that's important to you.
I mean, I started professional wrestling here in Gatineau. I've lived in Gatineau and Ottawa the entirety of my life. I still this currently I'm in my living room in Gatineau right now. I
Nice.
still work. I wrestle in America, but I still live here, and I kind of hold it as a point of pride. Um, when I started wrestling, there wasn't a lot of opportunities for Canadians, and especially not in this region. There wasn't a huge wrestling scene, and myself and a lot of the local wrestlers built this local wrestling scene. And so C4 Wrestling, Mystery Wrestling, Acclaim Wrestling, um, all a lot of like the local professional wrestling has been built off the foundations that we kind of built 20 years ago. And so I try to give back to that because that's the scene that gave me my start. That's the scene that's giving my students my start. And so I give back by trying to promote it. I'm actually going to a wrestling show tonight. C4 Wrestling is tonight. And I will be performing. And that's part of the beauty of All Elite Wrestling is that it still permits us to go back to our roots and wrestle for our local crowds and in our local markets. And so I'm trying to grow the local Canadian independent scene while I'm simultaneously trying to grow my own brand in America.
I think that's fantastic. Not to like not to change the mood, but I'd be remiss if I didn't ask about Brody Lee and the influence that Brody Lee had on you, because I know that that if I'm not overstepping, he was a mentor of yours.
Yeah, he was actually a very good friend. We met in 2008 originally, and we would travel the roads a lot because he was from upstate New York. And to go to America when you're from this region, you go through New York, and so we would always end up in the same carloads doing professional wrestling shows when I was young. And we became very close friends. And then, he got signed for our competitor WWE and worked there for a very long time. And when the opportunity finally came for him to come to All Elite Wrestling, we got to like rekindle our friendship, which was incredible. And unfortunately, I mean, I'm sure as many know, he passed away, and it was very sudden. But I get to cherish those moments we got to share again in All Elite Wrestling, and I think in a lot of ways, um, championing the flag of Dark Order and championing his group for the future and for his son's future as well it gives us strength. I feel like I am at least respecting his memory by doing so.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Now, I do want to drift off into some rapid fire questions because I understand,
Sure.
I want to be respectful of your time. The first question on rapid fire is always, and if you can't give me one, you can give me a top three. What is your favorite movie of all time?
I like Max Payne Fury Road. I've gone to the theater and seen it legitimately over 12 times.
Love it.
Uh, um, did I not say Mad Max? You said Max Payne. Oh, sorry, Matt. I played
I
the
think
video game.
most people, as soon as you say
Yeah.
Fury Road, people know what you
Yes,
mean, though.
Mad
So
Max
yeah,
Fury Road. I'm a huge Batman fan as well. I had a Batman wedding, and so Batman Begins was fantastic, and like that was in my later years. But
yeah,
Batman Returns is my Batman as a kid, so that's one of my favorite movies as well.
can never go wrong with Michelle Pfeiffer. Okay.
Correct.
When listen, my favorite match of yours is probably that epic match that you had with John Moxley. What's your favorite match that you've had?
It's funny in All Elite Wrestling. I would say the same. I think that was kind of a an eye opener for a lot of people of what I was capable of, and to have been the AW Dynamite main event live against John Moxley, who is like one of, if not the biggest name we have currently wrestling for us. That is my favorite match in All Elite Wrestling. Of all time is kind of the match that what got me signed to All Elite Wrestling is we had a series of matches in California with the Young Bucks, myself and my tag partner Stu Grayson. And I'll cherish all three of those matches, but the one especially is we had a TLC match, table ladders and chairs, with them and Adam Cole from All Elite Wrestling as well, and I'll remember that fondly forever because it was one painful, but two, it's really opened up the doors for me for the last decade, really.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, that's good to hear. Who that you haven't worked with would you like to work with?
Um, that's I've always looked up to him, and I would love to wrestle Christian Cage in All Elite Wrestling. I think he's doing some of his best work, although he's I will straight say he is a jerk. He's definitely a jerk, but he's a very talented jerk, and I would love to get the opportunity to wrestle him someday.
Excellent. Well, I definitely hope that happens for you. My last question is this: what are you most excited about in terms of performing in front of your home fans on the 16th?
You know, it's crazy. On March 16th at Canadian Tire Center, I'll get to. I've wrestled in front of my mother. I've wrestled in front of my father, and I've wrestled in front of all my friends because I continuously have kept this local scene wrestling alive. But I've never done it on a stage where people understood the importance of wrestling. You know, I've
Mhm.
done it. I think the largest crowd we've ever gone in Gatineau before was maybe 1,500, and this is an arena that can hold so much more. And it's an arena that, as a child, I would go see the Senators games. I still will go on occasion. It's a little harder to drive out there sometimes, but I it's an arena I've spent so much of my life in that it is incredible to think that I'll get to do it in front of my family in this arena as well.
Excellent. Well, I wish you all the best. And again, fans can check this out March 16th, Canadian Tire Center, AEW Collision. Evil Uno, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. Um, there's definitely an Uno because it's just you. I don't know about the evil part, but you know what? On camera, I'm sure it's different. But again, I wish you nothing but the best and wishing you guys a great show on the 16th.
Thank you so much, and I hope we'll all see you there, Keith.
Absolutely. I will definitely be there. Thank you so much. And again, you can all check this out. Canadian Tire Center, the 16th. This is the first time that AEW is coming to the nation's capital, so let's make them feel welcome. Evil Uno, thank you again for the time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.